anybody have any comments, changes, deletions, corrections?
John, I'll just abstain since I was not
Correct.
on at that meeting, if that's okay.
That is appropriate, yes. Okay, would anybody like to for the motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? One abstention. Okay, minutes of April 23rd, 2025. Any comments, corrections, additions, deletions?
Yeah, I'll abstain on that one because I was in Florida.
I'd rather
Lucky.
be in this meeting than Florida.
Oh, yeah.
I think it depends on the time of year and how much snow we have.
Yeah.
And how much cursed humidity and heat.
Yeah, it was really nice.
Yeah. Okay, I will entertain a motion. Yes.
This is Pete. On item 1, new business, there's a reference to board member Needham, which I think is supposed to be Tim Egan.
Oh, correct. We have
So,
one correction. Okay, do we have a motion to accept the minutes with that one correction?
I'll make the motion, John.
Okay, a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And one
John's-
abstention.
Same, yeah.
because I wasn't there either, John.
Okay, two abstentions.
Yes, same here. This is the April meeting.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, I misread the cancellation message.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
I apologize.
3 abstentions. We're not going to rehold the meeting. Excuse me. Okay. Do we have any comments or concerns regarding the meeting agenda? Okay. I will add one minor thing is that we have coming up in June a regional NASBA meeting. Sohair is going. We can send 2 if anybody else would like to go. Going once, going twice. The grandkids were young enough, I'd say going chicken soup with rice, but okay. Any other comments or concerns regarding the meeting agenda? And let's see, we have one non-board person here. Bonnie, is there anything that you'd like to add at this point?
I would ask that if there's anything that you want me to share with the group, that I do so now so I can make an early exit.
Well, is there anything that you believe should be shared with the group? I will, you did forward, by the way, what's going on down in Florida.
So, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, the last I'd heard from that is that was resolved, it was killed in the Senate, but I don't know whether it's been revived. So go ahead.
Their session was scheduled to end. It got extended because of a budgetary matter, but the bill for deregulation, which would have actually deregulated every profession other than attorneys and human medical professionals, because it would have deregged vets too, ended up stopping, but it did pass overwhelmingly out of the House and is expected to come back again. So it is dead this year, but is expected to return next year.
And I'll add to Bonnie, I got a note from John Johnson at NASBA. Because the extension of the session, they're certainly not taking their eye off of this one to make sure it doesn't creep back in, because the way this thing got introduced in the first place was, very under the radar, let's say. And
They've been working on it for a couple of years. It's because the House Speaker in Florida is the former chair of ALEC, which is, I'm sure some of you have heard about NCSL. ALEC is a more conservative version of NCSL, and the House Speaker in Florida is the former chair of ALEC. And ALEC's been pushing for deregulation of many professions for quite a while now. They felt that if they won in Florida, it'd be a big win, and they could get this in many states. There are a number of states that are looking at it, but it's not necessarily embraced in both houses by as many people as was the case in Florida. It was really the Florida President pro tem of the Senate that is the hero here. He really worked very hard with the Florida Society, the AICPA, and the Big Four to stop this measure. So Tim's right that they did do the extension for the budgetary matter, and nothing's truly dead until the final gavel. But right now they feel pretty good about where we're at. But again, that's just now. We're expecting more next year. And North Carolina has already put in a measure that they're fighting now that would eliminate CPE and other things. It's happening throughout the country. So it's something we're going to have to stay on top of.
Well, I'm sure we'll keep up on it. Is the Speaker of the House also either a medical doctor or an attorney?
The interesting thing is that they are planning on going broader next year, going after attorneys and including them as well. So it's a little bit frightening to think that you may have, an attorney that hasn't passed a bar exam or had any requirements. And the same is true, I think, with a veterinarian, an architect, engineer, many things. So it's just a different perspective that is alarming to many, but not to so many in Florida. For it to have passed overwhelmingly the way it did in the House was very scary.
Okay.
The only other thing that I would say for those of you who were not taking my calls at all hours of the night and on the weekends, thank you very much, Tim and John. The mobility and licensure bill did pass our House. It passed unanimously, and it is now awaiting action by the Senate.
Good. Sehr gut. Thank you very much. And you may leave and get on, or either that or get some rest.
Thank you. Bye.
Enjoy.
Bye. Okay, onward to the legal division. We have two cases, and we got the information up ahead.
Yes, good morning. So we have two settlement agreements for you to consider. The first one is case 2024-28, Ms. Oslo. So this matter came to us by way of an inquiry by a firm in Louisiana. This firm is approved to perform audit services for governmental and quasi-public entities in Louisiana. And they noticed some irregularities with some amended 941 returns pertaining to employee retention credits, ERC filed on behalf of governmental and quasi entities in Louisiana. And so they contacted us to verify the CPA's credentials. Everything checked out, but during the process, we discovered that Ms. Ocelos has been practicing without a firm permit. So in August of 2020, she formed a business called the Virtual Accountant LLC, located in Milford. And it was registered with the Connecticut Secretary of the State under NAICS code, Offices of Certified Public Accountants. I mean, she is fully licensed, but she's never got a firm permit for that LLC. And so when we contacted her, she promptly got a firm permit. But because she's been practicing for 4 years without a firm permit, the department alleges that she violated Connecticut General Statutes 20-281E and 20-281G. And so we entered into a settlement agreement with a penalty of $2,000. So that's for your consideration.
Very good. Do we have any discussion?
Pat, did she provide an explanation as to why she did not hold a permit?
Oh, yes, she didn't know that a lot of, it's common, a lot of solo practitioners don't know that in Connecticut, you're required to practice with a license and a firm permit. So for example, if you work for a big firm, you're actually practicing through that firm's firm permit. But if you go solo, you have to get your own firm permit.
Thank you.
Okay. I would presume that the society has had a notice on their website for ages that you, if not, we'll see if they'll put it up.
Yeah, we can put it on DCP website as well, but it is, stated the law is on
Right.
on the website for a while. It's just a common misunderstanding for some reason.
You don't know how many people get admitted to partnerships all of a sudden have to be licensed, not just registered, and don't realize it. Okay, any discussions? I will entertain a motion to accept the finding.
I'll make that motion, Robert Dack,
Okay.
to accept the
Robert?
finding.
This is Pete. I'll second it.
Good. We have a motion and a second. Any further comment, question, or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. The next one.
Thank you. So case 2022-93, it came in a complaint file with the department. So respondent is a CPA with an office in New Haven. He does mainly tax work, but he does do some audit as well. And he is current with peer review requirements. So for years, he prepared and filed the complainant and her husband's joint tax returns. So in 2021, the complainant and her husband were going through a lengthy and highly contested divorce proceeding. And so in 2021, the husband engaged the respondent to again prepare the couple's joint tax return. And the husband provided documentations. And so the respondent prepared the joint tax return as before. And on April 30th, 2021, he filed the couple's joint tax returns. The complainant complained that she never approved it. She never consented to having it filed. The respondent, the CPA, conceded that she never signed the form 8879 or the tax returns, but that he had sent a copy of the tax return to her attorney, and he never heard back. So he thought it was okay. The department alleges that by filing the tax returns without the complainant's signature on either the tax return or Form 8879, that he violated the IRS code and also some AICPA code of professional conduct, and as well as regulation, Connecticut regulation 20-280-15C. So we entered into a settlement agreement calling for him to train all his staff to follow the firm's tax filing procedures, which he did have based on the IRS publication 1345. He must also complete 4 CPE credits in the area of tax ethics, and he must pay a penalty of $1,500. And that's for your consideration.
Okay. Would anybody like to comment on that? And particularly those of us who've been deeply involved in taxes, which wouldn't be me. I ran away from them. I audited only. No? Sound reasonable, Daniel?
It does sound reasonable. That's a tough situation. You have to be sure that you get the signed 8879 from clients, especially. And one of the things I've always learned when you're dealing with a situation where a client's going through a divorce, it may be best to fire one of the clients.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you shouldn't do returns. You shouldn't do the returns for both of them unless you get the express consent from both of them that it's okay to file the other spouse's return at
Right.
that point.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
This is Pete. I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Thank you, Kat. Okay, old business. I don't plan to sit on a lot. Last meeting I said 10 years is too long for somebody to be chair, you get stale. And although we don't control who's the chair, we can make recommendations. And I'd like to know if anybody would be interested in assuming the chairmanship. Oh, please.
Hey, John, I
Yeah.
sent you a note that what's the timing of your transition, if you will, for
There
this? 'Cause
is
there's
no
some things I've
timing.
got going on. I'm trying to work through.
Yeah, here's the problem. There is no set transition time. And actually for either of us, we're the pleasure of the governor. And the issue is I give everybody on this call credit. I see some faces out there of people who are extremely busy. And getting people to volunteer for anything in recent years is extremely difficult. And the governor's office has, I don't know, it took us, over 2 years to find Robert and Sohair. And Stacy, I'm not sure how long it took us to find you. So it's just something that I figured maybe we could get ahead of the curve. And the chair position is something that's recommended by the I believe it's recommended, Kat, by the commissioner and approved by the governor. But I really pity it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It says the statute says recommended by the society.
Oh, okay. Well, then, we work with a society, but
So let me
That's,
say this, I am sympathetic, John, in that you've been doing this for so long. I agree that, to use your words, people get stale. Speaking very candidly, and I think you kind of hinted at the same thing, to me, Tim, you're kind of the shoe-in with, your experience and your involvement with NASBITs. So if I were gonna have my way, I would say, Tim, it would be great if you did it. That said, if Tim really can't do it, I would talk to you, John, about how much of a time commitment it is. I mean,
uh-huh.
I volunteer for too many things already, but I would do it, because I agree with you. I think it's good to have fresh blood in the chair role. That said, my vote would be against myself.
Frankly, it isn't it isn't that large of a time commitment. It's actually pretty reasonable. Now there are some times when Bonnie was making those midnight phone calls during the legislative session, and I think Tim handled most of the because a lot of that was coordination with NASBA and the AICPA to get opinions. So, and other than the meetings, there's consultation, for example, is when we assign cases to individual members to work with the DCP, et cetera. Absent that, the amount of time that the chair picks up assisting the cases and anybody on the board is really not different. Or it's only different if you're a martyr and take all the things. But I know, for example, so I mean, I think Daniel, you had a case that was pretty time consuming. I think Pete had one that was fairly time consuming fairly recently, but those have nothing to do with the chair position. And usually has to do with what your specialty is in your work.
And so maybe, and I'm sorry to suggest this, maybe we can kick the can down the road a little further, let you and Tim sync up and see if there's something Tim
that's
can
no
do,
problem.
and- yeah.
No problem. We're not very active in the summer, and unless something comes up, which could happen. I mean, I think we could get a special meeting if yet something else comes down the pike, which is urgent. But I think the legislative session is pretty much squared away now.
Yeah.
And I don't see, and anything that comes down from NASPR, or the AICPA usually has a fairly reasonably long lead time. Because there's it's kind of like, doing accountancy standards, the amount of due diligence is pretty significant. So, no, we can push it down the road, no problem.
And John, in terms of the NASBA agenda, in terms of change, this UAA amendment clearly was, the big one that there was a lot of attention paid to.
Right.
The only thing that I think might be coming down, and it's probably going to be more guidance for the state boards, is around alternative practice structures.
Really?
Yeah. So, that'll be a topic at the regional. So Harry, you'll get to hear a little bit more about that. But not necessarily, amendments to what we're doing, maybe just some guidance for us to consider as a board, with, the issues around those structures, and if there's any concerns that impact how we regulate.
Yeah, I think the NASBA meetings are very informative and very well run. And if I can only ask you to take some notes so you can pass them along. And what about the two-tier licensing that was so big a few years ago? Is that still on track, or is that kind of pushed to the curb for now? Where you had a second specialization?
Yeah, that I haven't seen, any recent discussion on that.
Okay.
Perhaps it emerges again, but not that I'm seeing in the discussions thus far.
Right. Okay. Let's see. Okay, we do have some new business with extension waivers. An extension request. We all got materials on that. Would you like to pitch in there, Kat? Whoop.
Yeah, I'm sorry, with the first one, the CPE request that didn't come to legal. Rochelle, do you have information on that?
Yeah, just what was provided. So they're asking for a waiver of the CPE requirements on good cause.
Right,
So if you read, I just saw that this morning. If you read the bottom of the EY statement saying that she asked for leave. I did look at her credentials, and she lives in New Jersey, even though she works for the EY Brazil. She lives in New Jersey, and the last new renewal application in 2024, December 24, stated that she has 18 CPE credits carried over. I don't know if that makes any difference. And also state that she does not perform attest services. So from what I understand, she's asking for a CPE waiver entirely, not an extension, and that she is on leave at work for having twins from February until I think, is it September 2025?
So how, I mean, if you're going to maintain a license, part of me says you ought to keep up the CPE even if you're currently out. On the other hand, there should be some way that you could accommodate
And I apologize for being the non CPA here, but in the legal world, it's very like I can literally write a letter saying I retire from the practice of law. They'll list me as retired. I don't have to do anything, and a year later, I can be like, I've unretired from the practice of law, and then I'm back under having to do my CLE, et cetera, et cetera. Is there not any sort of licensure pause like that you can do?
Correct.
There was none.
There
But I
probably
think she
should
probably
be.
just has to do. There probably should be, but it seems like she just has to do the CPE then, and maybe. Go ahead. Sorry.
I mean,
All right.
to clarify, you can go off, but then when you reinstate, you have to certify that you have not practiced during that time. So you can't continue practicing without a license.
Oh,
Then it seems like that's what she should probably do in this case, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she should just be warned that, she cannot practice in that time until she recommits
Right.
Well, I
and
guess the other
communicates.
Isn't another alternative, what we typically see is extensions, like she could ask for an extension for 6 months. Or, right, we would gladly grant that, we would typically grant that, right? With the maternity situation, so that's
Yeah, we
an
would.
alternative.
Maybe that's another, yeah.
I mean, if Rachel communicated with her and said, we're
So
willing
yeah.
to be reasonable on an extension, and she's already has 18 credits, it sounds like, so she'd only need 22 more. I don't know what the group thinks of that.
I agree with that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
It seems to me that would be a more prudent path for her to take if we offered it.
She did operate up until February 11th of 2025. She was a CPA right before she went on leave. So that's the year that we're talking about. That's part of a partial year of what we're talking about.
Right. Now, how long has she requested leave for?
Looks like 6 months.
Yeah, looks like she's going back on August 9th.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to think of a generous extension. And then if she decided not to go back, it becomes moot.
Yeah.
Right.
I can't make motions. By the way, that's one of the benefits of being the chair. You're not allowed to make motions.
I guess the appropriate motion would be, we recommend responding that she requests an extension or pause her license if an extension doesn't meet her needs for some reason. That's my motion.
I would second that motion.
Okay. And could we repeat that before we vote on it?
Yes, a motion that she either request instead an extension of time to complete her CPE, or if that's does not meet her needs, she could suspend her license and not practice until which time she decides to have it reinstated.
Just one clarification question. Would we need her to come back to the board to?
I think so, yes.
I think she'd have to, right?
Yeah.
Because right now,
Yeah.
she's not asked for an extension.
Yes. And
I
I
have
think
a
if
question.
you,
Oh,
yes,
please.
O'Hare.
Just for my understanding, extensions are only 6 months.
You can ask for any extension that you want.
Yeah, we have granted greater extensions.
Okay. Just given the demands of maternity leave, I was just wondering if she needed more time.
Well, you could say 6 months, which could be renewed. Can we do that? Or it could be further extended if required.
Great.
Now we got to rewrite your motion.
It was already a mouthful.
Well, I mean, I think she really has to decide. I think all we have to do is recommend she ask for an extension, and then she can determine how long she needs. So,
Yeah,
but my
and we
motion
could
is
even
Sure.
say we'd be very amenable to approve an appropriate extension, which would certainly administratively make this a lot easier for her. Okay, well, I think we should make a motion that we communicate, and it might not be necessary, but and suggest that she requests an extension, which we would gladly accommodate. Kat, do we need a motion for that, or can we just go ahead and do it?
I forget, did you vote already? I think,
No,
No, we did
No,
not.
we got a motion and a second, I believe. So, Mr. Chair, query if you'd like to have a vote on our standing motion.
If you'd repeat it.
Yes, the motion is that the board representative replied that, we've not voted on her request. I suppose we could vote it down, but yeah, we've not voted. She should request an extension of time or alternatively suspend her license until which time she'd like to have it reinstated. That's the motion.
Any comments on that?
Do we need to affirmatively say that we're not entertaining an exemption?
We can just.
I think we could leave that kind of understood.
Okay.
I think. Any comments on that? Anybody? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to ask you to repeat it again because with the conversation, I just want to make sure everybody knows exactly what they're voting on.
A motion that a board representative instruct the applicant that we recommend she request an extension of time to complete her CPA, or alternatively, she can suspend her license until which time she'd like to have it reinstated.
Okay,
Second.
any further? Yes. Bud?
Second,
A second?
just seconding.
Okay, have a motion, a second? Any further discussion?
I think we just need to clarify that it's her CPE, not her CPA.
oh, yeah.
Correct.
Because I think you accidentally said CPA, not CPE.
I'm withdrawing my motion. I will let someone who's got a better beat on this complete it.
so
Stacy,
if I may, a simple way could be just to say you deny her motion for a waiver, but you grant her an extension until December 31st to complete her CPEs, because that's when so the CPEs are due June 30th. And so the new cycle starts July 1st. But basically what you're giving her is 6 months from the deadline to complete. And that's when she would it will be due for renewal. And that would be essentially giving her a waiver of $635 of the late CPE fees. That way she doesn't have to come back. But if she does come back, she can stay to her own terms of what she needs.
Mhm.
okay. Okay, since Kat technically isn't a board member, would somebody like to forward her motion? And you don't have to repeat it.
I move.
Okay, second?
Second,
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Hush, no.
Yeah, probably if we had further discussion, we'd have to reword it yet again. Okay, exam credit extension request from Hitesh Madnani.
Yes. So,
Hitesh.
yes, Mr. Anani basically is requesting for an extension of his AUD audit exam credit. So he took it on August 8th, 2022. And under the original expiration date, it would have expired February 8th, 2024, which was like 18 months from that date. But the current expiration date is actually June 30th, 2025. It was due to the evolution transition extension credit that the board approved. basically under that universal extension, any existing credit on January 1st, 2024 were extended to June 30th, 2025. So based on that universal extension, his credit is now expiring June 30th, 2025, and he's asking for an extension to December 15th, 2025. So basically a 6 months extension based on the medical conditions that were forwarded to you.
Right.
Kat, can I ask, did he do anything since August of 22? Like, did he sit for any other exams or anything like that? I mean, is he?
I don't remember carefully,
Okay.
but I believe that he passed all three. He's waiting for one more. Like it's pretty, like he's very close.
Okay.
Well, and he had medical stuff, right? Wasn't
Correct.
there medical stuff
Yeah.
included?
I think so.
Yes.
Yes.
We'll entertain a motion. After which
I'll
we
make
can
a-
further, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I'll make a motion to approve his request.
I'll second.
Do we have any further discussion? Okay, then take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. There's no correspondence. We don't have any more comments or concerns of any person present today, but we'll take that opportunity also. If anybody on the board would like to add anything to the agenda for the next meeting or anything further to discuss at this time.
Hey, John,
Yes.
just one thing I noticed I think it was the March minutes. I wasn't at the meeting, but I read where Bonnie made a recommendation around us, the board, communicating. I can't remember exactly what the topic was, but making some information more readily known to the CPAs or the applicants within our state. And I can't remember what the item was, but perhaps we take that up at one of the next meetings if there continues to be a need to get information out there. How do we do it and what form? I don't know if you have the
Okay.
minutes handy.
I do. Was it the
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can find it myself.
joint UAA committee?
No.
No, I can't find it in here.
Yeah, let me.
I think it's in the special meeting, Tim.
Oh, the special meeting.
Oh.
My
With the comments and
apologies. My
concerns.
apologies.
He
Yeah,
said that
thought it was the other.
CPA has received inquiries from colleges related to the new legislation, and recommended the board begin discussing providing some guidance regarding this. So I guess is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, no, I think that is it. And maybe, I think we'll get feedback very soon on the UAA, the amended UAA, where that lands. So maybe we wait to that landing. That'll happen over the next month or two. And obviously we've got our legislation that, we proposed. We in Connecticut.
Yes.
Yeah. But since it's not yet, hasn't fully passed yet, I guess maybe, John, we can speak to Bonnie and specifically what she thinks, we might want to do now prematurely, or just as a heads up.
Yeah. And I think that's something that would easily be taken care of. One of the few things that could be easily taken care of through the website. Although we find out how many people don't look at it, so. But the universities probably do.
And
Does
then
the state
NASBA
board
also,
have a
Yeah.
LinkedIn page? Because I know a lot of people are on LinkedIn. That might be
Well, that's interesting.
another avenue to post certain things like this. I know the CTCPA does, and they will post certain things, but is that something we could do to get a
That's a
little more
good idea.
relevant?
There's
That's a good
also,
idea.
and John, we've not done this in a long time, but you'll recall, and so will Pete and Daniel, and I don't know if Carla was on at the time, but NASBA has their communications group offers for no charge the ability to assist boards in compiling newsletters and alerts and the sort. So we could also leverage NASBA to help
Right.
get something put together that makes it look, rather than just like a letter,
Right.
like an official communication from our board that could be sent to all of the Connecticut
Yeah. And
CPAs.
the nice thing about a LinkedIn page, if somebody follows it, then they get notifications when there's a change and an update.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't have
You
to
could-
keep looking at it.
And you can throw it, yeah, they can put that right into the LinkedIn, or LinkedIn feed.
Yeah.
But anyway, maybe that's
Yeah.
something we take,
I think-
we speak with Bonnie about,
Right.
what
Right.
sort of questions she's getting, and then the timing of what it is we should be communicating, and kind of take that up maybe at one of the next meetings.
Right. Yeah. I'll put it on my thing to give her a call on it after the last gavel for the legislative session. And all chance of surprises disappears. So,
Well, yeah, because there's lots of stuff we could post on there, if people aren't going to the website, just to keep them up to date on things that we're working on and discussing and
right.
things like that.
No, it's a good idea. It'll require a little work to make it worthwhile, but it's a good idea. Now all of a sudden I'll see everybody's screens go black. Not me. Okay. Anything else? Okay. If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion, John.
A second.
Second? And no discussion allowed on that one. Never was quite sure why, but all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What is the
Thank
next
you.
one? July 1st. Canada Day. Okay. Have a good